Hey, this is Sam from Overground Sound. Rose caught up with Christy T backstage and they had a chat about touring, the secret of good scotch, a.a.milne, his poems and life as a soldier, Jeremy Clarkson, Chris's drinking habits and self-management. Chris's opening comments are about his time at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival last year. At a point in this podcast there's some sound checking in the background, but don't worry as this only lasts a few minutes. Enjoy.
Well, the first 4 days I got completely shit-faced in the evening so that I couldn't move, and then realised that if I carried on doing that for the whole month I would be dead.
Yeah.
And then kind of was quite clean living for the rest of it.
Who's driving?
Tonight, me.
Oh, first.
Yeah, so I'll have this glass of wine and then I'll be done.
We'll take the bottle of white wine.
I will be. Sorry?
So you?
Franz is headlining.
Yeah. He's out there
I'm supporting, and we've got two other people. We've got PJ Bond,
and
we're deep in the DIY punk. Well, not DIY, but we're deep in the punk scene here.
Really?
You know,
that's great.
This is, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So do you know Franz?
Yeah, I've met him before. I remember meeting him when he was supporting. I think it was Frank.
It would have been Frank with Ben Marwood.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I met him then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how have you been?
We were discussing you in the office.
Were you?
Yeah.
Are you troubled?
Not at all.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's silly. You're too nice to me.
I'm not.
You are. You're very nice to me.
I'm not.
Okay. I'm not saying a word.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take that.
Yeah,
Thank
no.
you. It's very kind.
No.
I don't think it's.
You've got so much artistic freedom.
Yeah, and
Because you never have to compromise.
I mean, one of the things about this tour is that I've probably enjoyed it much more because I'm not a headliner. Far less pressure. You know, and I've also really enjoyed driving, which is that's normally when I drive myself on tour, which I've probably told you about in interviews before, I get in trouble with everyone and they're sort of like, oh, you shouldn't be driving on your own.
What's wrong with your driving?
No, just because I'm travelling completely on my own.
Oh, I see.
Whereas this time I've been driving with friends.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's like it's safer, isn't it, too? And I don't get in so many scrapes, but at the same time I've been able to show them a few bits, not loads of stuff, but a few bits of the UK that you wouldn't have seen if you've been
that's true.
like normal life. Went to the Scotch Park.
Yeah.
So bits like that, and the Scottish Modern Art Gallery.
Wow, that's
sort of-
fantastic, that gallery. I've been there.
It's beautiful.
It is.
And they've slightly rejigged the road, you know, the one across the road. So there was the Dean Gallery and then the Scottish National Modern Art Gallery.
Yeah.
And now the Dean Gallery is the second part of the Scottish National.
Really?
So they've sort of incorporated it.
Wow.
It's really good.
That
Because
is
Paolozzi died, but that's a different story.
I don't know about that story. I didn't know about names in history. Do you know this?
You mustn't worry about it because none of it's important.
Why isn't any of it important?
I don't know.
I don't want to be rude, not to acknowledge.
No, they're just starting sound checking, I think. So.
How long have you been on tour now, Chris?
Oh, we're about 2/3 of the way through this tour.
You haven't got that ravaged and completely fucked look yet.
No, because it's been very clean living, partly because I've been driving, so I haven't been getting shit-faced. I reckon I've only got shit-faced sort of 3 or 4 nights on the whole tour.
Really?
Most nights I have 1 glass of wine and then drive somewhere, so, which I actually
What
really...
do you drink when you're getting shit-faced?
Scotch. Good Scotch. If you want to kill me, give me... And I can, you know, if you gave me a Scotch, I'd know if it was a.a.milne or Highland or...
Really?
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
so are you one of those people who can drink Scotch and not bite or hit anyone?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not an aggressive. I'm not an aggressive drunk.
That's the most amazing thing.
No, I really love Scotch and I really love staying up all night with people on drinking Scotch. No, basically, good Scotch is the best thing in the world, and I don't get, you know, I can drink a lot of Scotch and still be chatting nicely.
Wow.
Good Scotch, 1 ice cube. And do you know the secret of good Scotch? If you want to buy good Scotch of whatever brand, supermarket brands, whatever, there's a thing called non-chill filtered Scotch.
Yeah.
So any brand, whether it's like Glenfiddich or Leafborough or whoever, any brand of Scotch will have a thing that's non-chill filtered.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a few quid more expensive. And what it means is that what they do with all brands of Scotch now
is what they want is when you pour it in on the ice, they don't want it to go discoloured, because that puts people off, when in fact the discoloration is meaningless.
Okay.
And so they do a thing where they chill it and then filter it again an extra time when it's finished.
Yeah.
And actually they take out a lot of the flavouring.
All right. Okay.
So if you buy, but you can always buy non-chill filtered, where it's still, if you pour it on an ice cube, it goes a bit cloudy.
All right,
but it's actually much better tasting.
So what brands are like that?
All of them. You can, or almost all of them, or any good like single malt scotches, you can buy a non-chill filtered version of the same scotch. And usually it's less easy to get hold of, and usually it's like a £5 more expensive.
Yeah.
Buy it every time.
So what's your favourite brand of whiskey?
My favourite brand of Highland whiskey is Edredure, which is the smallest distillery in Scotland. I love it. It's really nice.
Is it expensive?
It's about £40 a bottle.
What, for a normal bottle? Or?
Yeah, for a normal good bottle. And Jim Bob from Carter USM took me on a tour there to the distillery.
Oh, really?
Where his driver Neil, his tour manager Neil, is a real whiskey guy, and he loves that. So we took us on the tour, and basically the tour's like £5, but you get that back off the price of the whiskey in the shop.
Bottle,
that's my favourite. And I'm getting one of the things that happens, I think, with people who like whiskey is as you get older, you get more into peaty whiskies, which is the if you get the a.a.milne malts, which are more and they got kick. Like the kind of most hardcore one of those that you get in the supermarkets is Talisker.
Okay.
But so I'm beginning to get into those now.
Do you know my
Lafroig
dad
is
used to drink
beautiful.
whiskey when he went to bed on the rocks? Can you remember last time we met?
I saw you at the borderline.
Yeah, that's right. And that was just such
Fuck the fire
yeah,
gig.
it was brilliant. Our T-shirts arrived for that, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're designed by Frank Turner. Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
Are they good?
Yeah. Oh God, I'd have bought one for you today if I'd known you didn't have one. They've sort of like they've got like a fuck the fire thing, and on his site and stuff. It's in a circle anyway. They're cool. Yeah, so then we were talking about the a.a.milne stuff you've done. We were talking about a.a.milne, and I was really interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm not at all surprised. Yeah. Because it's not everyone can do that, Chris.
Can do what? Oh, be kind of do children-y or family-friendly stuff as well as doing adult stuff.
I was so inspired. Tell me how that happened again, because I was trying to narrate this back to the guys in the office.
It was an organic thing, so I made a Christmas EP. I usually make a homemade Christmas EP to give away or to sell to fans. And I did one with 3 a.a.milne. I grew up with a.a.milne. I grew up with Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with Winnie the Pooh because Disney owns all Winnie the Pooh.
Oh right.
Disney owns the rights to all the characters.
Okay.
So you basically can't do anything from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
But the poems are out there, and Disney doesn't have a problem with them.
Oh.
So I started looking at the poems, and I realised they have a really deep resonance for me from my childhood.
Yeah.
And also, my friend Jim, who sings in Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine, there's lots of references to a.a.milne through their career. So even when I was growing up getting into indie music, there was this reference thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how it came about. And then after I did the Christmas EP, one of the songs people loved, which was Market Square.
Yeah.
So then I re-recorded that properly for my last proper album, Love Is Not Rescue.
Okay, yeah.
And then again, even within the context of Love Is Not Rescue, Market Square is one of the most popular songs.
Right.
And I found a lot of people coming up to me who are long-time fans, who've sort of stuck with my career for a decade, who are now old enough that they've had children.
Yeah.
And there's the eternal problem with someone like me, which is that people like my music, but I swear a lot and I talk about politics and adult subjects, and they want stuff to play to their kids.
Yeah.
And so this was perfect. It was like, okay, I've got this song on this album that people are really loving, and it's got this resonance for their children because it's got rabbits in it, so kids loved it. Yeah. And that's where it came from. And then I was thinking, well, how many of these poems could I make work musically? Yeah. So I just got I got the books, and roughly at the same time, this is about a year ago, just before Christmas last year.
Wow.
At the same time of starting to look at it as a project, I was also separately looking at Edinburgh Fringe Festival and thinking, I really want to go.
Yeah.
Again, Jim Bob had been, he went and acted in someone's musical the year before, and I was really jealous. Yeah. And I was like, I really want to do it. Everyone has such an amazing time.
Yeah, it's great up there.
Can I make it work? Because traditionally it's incredibly expensive.
It's very, I've done it.
And it's that thing of accommodation goes through the roof
Yeah,
everything.
It's
And
like
I thought, can I figure a way to break even?
Yeah.
And I did. And I just
Wow.
figured a way that I can get there, get a show done, do the whole month, take a quite hardcore attitude towards it.
wow.
Like everyone said, one, you have to be really prepared for tiny audiences.
Yeah.
The average is 6
Yeah.
for across the whole fringe.
Yeah.
So it's more like everyone was preparing me for an endurance test.
Yeah.
But in the event, partly because of the nature of the show,
Yeah.
and partly because I was very lucky with things like venue and accommodation,
Yeah.
I had great crowds. I had a
Wow.
really nice time. I mean, I had the most overwhelming experience.
Yeah.
And also, I sort of learned about the show itself and the a.a.milne stuff itself, that the resonances aren't for kids. It
Yeah.
works for kids. It's good fun.
Yeah.
They really enjoy it. But it's more. It has a melancholy ending.
Yeah.
And most importantly of all, older people get it.
Yeah.
Not even our age, but people in their 60s and 70s totally get this show.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely I had lines of elderly people who'd heard about the show, who came and sat at the back and cried and knew every word of the poems.
Yeah.
So it's a really amazing thing for me to be able to play to. It's a universal thing, at least in the UK. I don't know. I don't think it would necessarily work in the way that my own stuff can work in the States or in Europe or wherever, because a.a.milne is a uniquely English. Although Winnie the Pooh is very popular in the States, but I don't know. I'd have to do some more research.
Yeah.
But also, I love the idea of having a show I don't have to tour. It's not a normal album. I'm not touring. I'm being incredibly snobby about the gigs.
Yeah.
So basically, in order to get an a.a.milne gig, people have to promise me a good real piano, an all-seated venue, access to children, which is a problem for a lot of venues, and a load of money as well.
Yeah.
And so it's given me a chance to be really greedy.
Yeah,
And I've got a great boast about the album.
but
So I
it's
recorded
not
it.
greedy.
I also did this experiment in DIY. So the material isn't appropriate for Extra Mile.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're really cool, but this is twee stuff.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
a
did
different
it.
genre,
yeah,
really, isn't
and I
it?
did
Yeah.
it totally DIY. Did
Yeah.
it on Bandcamp.
Wow.
And here's my boast.
Did you?
From the moment I put the record up online,
Yeah.
I paid for the entire project in 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
So basically, I learned
Oh
a
my
huge
God,
lesson
you must
about
have
the
been
way.
sat there just watching.
Oh well, no, it's even better than that, because
How did
you
that-
know when you get emails and you have a noise that makes a little ping.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting on the computer.
Yeah.
I've just put the stuff up and I've just started tweeting and
Yeah.
Facebooking. I didn't do any PR. I didn't do any kind of.
Oh my God.
I didn't do any selling but for just telling people
Yeah.
online. And then I started hearing these pings, and each email was Bandcamp telling me I had sold a copy. And at one point that afternoon, it was just going boom, 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 boom. And I'm not a greedy person, but there is a weird thing about making it that direct, making the exchange that instant, that I was loving it. And then the point came where it sold so many that I knew I'd effectively funded a major project in my career
God.
that quickly, with no help, with
My
no
God.
bother, and also that I haven't compromised an iota on it. So I'm so proud of it, because you know there is that if I was doing it in any other context, there would be pressure to do things, and I don't feel any pressure. You know, I'm not. Tonight I probably will sing one or two of them, but there's no one's getting the show unless I want to do the show. I'm not feeling that need to keep the. So I've loved it. I've really loved it.
That's
We're doing a
fantastic.
Christmas one in Brighton that we're self-promoting.
Are you? When is that?
Tuesday the 20th of December at the Friends Meeting House in Brighton.
Really?
And we've sold like more than 60 tickets for that, and I've put it's an expensive ticket.
Yeah.
So
How
it's
much the
it's a
tickets?
tenner to get in for adults, £5 for kids. We've done a family ticket for 20 quid,
that's
and we've
good,
sold
yeah.
more than 60 tickets to that.
God, I'm
And so
not
suddenly I
surprised.
know that that's going to be really enjoyable as well. They've got a lovely piano in the Friends Meeting House. It's a beautiful space. It's an alcohol-free space.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be tea and cakes in the kitchen. You know, it's going to be one of those
How
sort.
lovely.
I'm starting to be able to call things concerts instead of. I could do a concert, but no, and I'm aware of the silliness of it. But at the
No, it's
same
not. I don't think
time,
it's silly at all.
the lead just at the beginning of this tour,
Yeah.
when I picked Franz up and we were on the road,
Yeah.
I did an afternoon at Leeds University.
Yeah.
In their cloth workers concert hall,
Yeah.
and the first thing the woman said when we walked through the door was, "Well, we've had the Steinway tuned for you." And I was like, "Okay." And I walked in, and there's this £90,000 Steinway grand sat in this beautiful auditorium for me to play to 60 children. It was a mind blower.
No, that's
No, so it's lovely.
Nice.
I
Isn't
like.
that nice?
I think it's really important because also, I don't want to compromise the adult stuff I do, and I'm almost.
I was just thinking, I don't know you ever could compromise.
It's just that I'm aware that it can alienate people, and I totally appreciate that. And sometimes I'll sort of take a position on something and know, and almost be wishing I didn't feel like I had to, because there are certain swathes of people that I admire and like that are going to find that difficult, or it's going to mean they need to back off or whatever. Yeah. And I love that there's something else there. Yeah. So that if I'm ranting about politics, for example, someone can say, but don't worry, listen to this other thing you did.
I know. You see, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So that people know that that's not just me. Is this sort of shouty, sweary communist ranter? If you know what I mean.
No, I think it's really, really important. Hi, Paul.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Chris.
Yeah. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
You well?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, a bit rushed getting down there. Okay.
Fair dues.
Yeah.
Paul will do.
How get my stuff together?
Paul and I have been working together for quite a while. Yeah. I was so pleased he could come tonight. He nearly couldn't come because I'm absolutely fucked.
Okay.
Yeah, and Paul can handle me when I'm
Excellent.
like, yes,
Okay.
I know. And also, he does really, really good photos of interviews.
The one thing I must say is when Franz finishes, I'm going to need to go and sound check.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a good point if you want to take photos of the sound check. That's fine.
That would be good as well. Yeah, we'll have one or two of this.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, you know how you've got this incredible diversity. I mean, I know that we've written about this.
Yeah.
And the fact that because there are very few musicians who can do what you do.
Well, that's very kind of you.
But it's also true.
It's very hard to figure out when I'm me, what I'm doing.
But I can see, and we can see what you're doing.
I think one of the really exciting things for me at the moment is, as I got older, especially when I didn't feel that the folk world particularly wanted me a few years ago, which was fair play, because I was swearing, just shouting. But
and you like the C word, don't you?
I do.
I know. Well, it's become normal now.
It's normalised to a great degree, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, and I'm not sure which. But I like it in a certain way. What I was going to say was, I now begin to feel like I'm aging into a position where none of those barriers matter.
I agree.
And it's so weird that I get better opportunities now than I did 3 or 4 years ago. So that's weird, because I definitely felt like I'd topped out on a career.
Oh, I see.
And now I feel like the world is beginning to open up again.
Yeah, the world's your oyster.
Yeah. I mean, when I first met you back on the Dive tour, that was the last tour I did with a major booking agent, I was booked by the company. And ever since then, I've been in total control of my own bookings.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a very good, hard-working, honest agent, and I was very chuffed to have that. But now, looking back at it 9 months later, from the perspective of having booked my own stuff, it's massively improved my feeling of control over what I do. And if I'm honest about it, I'm a strategic thinker about these things. I do want to do the.
I can see that.
Sort of,
you're a natural strategist.
So therefore, obviously, in a way, self-management is a good thing. Whereas for many people, and I totally appreciate, especially for younger bands just coming through, where their aim is to get as high as fast as possible, so that then when they fall, they've got as much residual resource. For me, it's just that I want to still be doing this when I'm 65. And that does involve a much more complex element of strategizing about how do I achieve that in this. I'm also I can't remember if we've talked about it, but I'm a very pessimistic person about civilization. So
You've said that before, yeah.
So therefore, if one
I took it
takes
on the chin a bit.
Yeah, but that's because you're much more optimistic about civilization, which is fine. That's totally cool. Only, I mean, I'd much rather you approve right than me, because then that means civilization's okay. But yeah,
you know, you're saying about being strategist and self-managing and stuff like that. That's something that we're interested in as well, because we think that self-management is really important. And we just did an interview with We Are the Ocean. Have you heard of them?
No.
they're self-managed and they're a really substantial band.
Yeah.
And they're just like one of loads of bands that are self-managed.
More and more, I think it's the way to do it.
It is, right, it really is. I definitely think that, and we really encourage it, and so it's really good to hear what you're saying about that, because
Yeah, I
basically
think that
you're
if
doing what you want to do and it's working.
Yes, I mean, you just have to be... There are all these skills that, in a way, it's best to learn for life anyway. So if you're, whether you're a young band or whether you're just getting a job in the mainstream...
Yeah.
Valuing yourself is drastically important, and these kids that get basically, it's just as easy to get ripped off going in for a job at a bank as it is to be ripped off as a young artist trying to do your first gigs. And people will say, oh well, if you do gigs it's a really high risk, you're going to get ripped off, and you think, well,
is that what people say?
Well, I guess they do.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe enough of them don't. Maybe
yeah.
I mean, maybe I just think when you meet the youngest of the people, like students coming through who want to make music for a living, the best thing is to learn all those skills. So even if in their heart they're thinking, I want a major record deal, I want a manager, I want a lawyer, I want a booking agent, that's not an excuse not to learn those skills.
I completely agree.
Like, totally be able to book your own shows and build, and most of all, important of all, build the relationships with everyone you work with. Like the bands that, because they've got a booking agent, they go to a venue and don't talk to anyone. Because they've got a tour manager, they don't feel they need to have a conversation with anyone. They're killing themselves. Whereas all they have to do is go, hi, I'm in this band, I'm glad I'm here, I'm happy to meet you. And then, it's not even a proviso, it's not even a plan B.
No.
It does your reputation proud at that moment as an up and coming band. But also it's a plan B in that if you're still wanting to make music 5 years later, and do you need me for the sound check?
No,
Oh, cool. Oh, wicked. If you're still trying to do it, then you haven't. I mean, I really regret when I signed on to ITB and got a big booking agent in 2007. Even though I've been making music for a decade, I just ditched all my contacts. I didn't drop friends, but I just thought, I don't have to book my own shows anymore.
It was like a holiday.
Out goes my contacts file for gigs. Now, fast forward 4 years later, where I'm like, I don't want a booking agent anymore. I want to book my own shows. I've got to go back to scratch and start looking on. I'm literally back to Google to find people to put shows on. Now, luckily, that is working so far. But I still think when I start booking my first headline band tours with a new album next year, it's going to be that much harder of a slog because I let all those contacts slide. Yeah. And I think so if that's my own example, I can preach this stuff and yet I still get it wrong and I still do a really stupid thing in the excitement of, I've got a new booking agent. What are you going to say? Sorry.
Are you going to be happy with the line check? Because doors are open now, is that right?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Sure?
Yeah, so we're going without sound check and then people are just coming in now.
Well, Franz has done a sound check, so the sound's set for that. But if you want to do a quick sound check, I'm sure we can.
If there's time and if there aren't too many people.
There's no one in yet, so if you want to do a sound
let's do that.
We all think that you're really unique in your
That's very
ability,
nice of you.
Yeah. It could be that we're just right,
or it could be that you're wrong and I'm just shite.
We know that's not the case.
Okay, sorry, what's the question?
The question is, are you going to carry on, we call it like doing a sideways swoop, but that's not really the right words, because basically every time you turn a corner and you go down your own path, you open up another avenue, and I want to know if you're going to carry on doing that or if you're going to go back to the more traditional route, because we're really excited if you're going to carry on.
Well, I have. That's kind of a way of asking what's coming up.
Except with you, it's not quite.
Yeah, I don't know, but there is supposed to be basically, because I've had a consistent band lineup when I have a backing band for 3 years.
Wow.
Which is the Hood Rats, who were playing in 2008, and you saw us play with Dive Dive.
Oh, yeah.
That's been a consistent lineup for a long time, and they're close friends. Yeah. But I've never recorded an album with them. Yeah. So the next album is going to be a band album in the more conventional sense. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's going to be conventional. I don't know what it's going to be like. They're all multi-instrumentalists. Wow. They all can sing equally as well as me and have great skills of different instruments from what they play in the band. So it doesn't necessarily mean, for example, that Johnny, who's my bassist, has to play bass all the way through the album, because he's also a brilliant accordion player and a folk singer in his own right, and blah blah blah.
So you're going to get all this stuff going.
So as a unit, as a 4-piece unit, we're actually really versatile, and so therefore I feel like I can go back to what I used to do 10 years ago, which was make, not self-consciously, but certainly what they ended up being was quite psychedelic pop records before Nine Reds, before I got all folk protest. So I imagine, so the best I can imagine is that the next record will sound like earlier records, but have more kind of more grown-up songwriting on it. There's two things I would say. I'd say there's 3 things I need to do next year. One is I need to make a normal band album with them. When I say normal, whatever, but it's with them.
Out there,
and then the second thing is I want to make a sequel to Nine Red Songs, my political record from 2005. But I want them to record it. So we'll record all of that in one set of sessions.
Okay, brilliant.
And then the main album will be the main album, and then I'll have a load of offcuts of political songs that I can then work into a new Nine Red Songs record. So that's that. And then also, one of the singles off the new album, or one of the kind of key tracks in my head, is about Jeremy Clarkson, and I have 6 songs about Jeremy Clarkson. So what I'm probably going to do is preempt the album. If Extra Mile go with it, they've got to listen to it first. Everyone's a little bit worried about it, but it's not what you think. It's not like me slagging off Jeremy Clarkson. It's not at all. It's a story, a fantasy story about something that happens to Jeremy Clarkson over 6 songs. And it's an EP that, if it happens, it will be called The Taking of Clarkson's Lighthouse. Wow. And it's about Jeremy Clarkson accidentally kills the last Fraggle. So you know the Fraggles?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jeremy Clarkson basically puts rat poison down because he thinks they're rats and kills the last ever Fraggle. So he's committed Fraggle genocide. And then we take his lighthouse from him on the Isle of Man, and we build a kind of utopia on the Isle of Man, like Alexandria, the ancient city. So we need a lighthouse and a library, and that's what you need. And then we throw him in the Irish Sea. So he has quite a sad end, but in fact, the idea is that the listener would almost feel sympathy for Jeremy Clarkson by the end. I won't ascribe any negative things, like even when he kills a Fraggle, it's a total accident.
Yeah, okay.
So then you end up feeling, so all the lefty types who don't like him end up feeling sorry for him, and then all the righty types who like him will be offended by the record. Okay. So it works both ways. That's the plan.
Okay, because that's the kind of thing that is just brilliant. So. Because that's in the same category as a.a.milne stuff, isn't it?
Sort of, but it's going to be adult. It's not for families. And also, I don't know yet whether it will be any... Like, say I put it out and it's 6 songs, but only like 2 of them are any good. Then I've sort of... So that's why it's only an EP, not an album.
I see, okay.
And then there'll still be an album.
Are you okay for us to put that on the podcast?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you sure? Because that is...
That's not an exclusive, unfortunately. I have said in interviews that I'm doing that already.
But the thing is that is such a good idea. You don't want to keep it under wraps.
He's one of the best TV presenters in the country.
He is,
He's an incredibly gifted natural TV presenter.
He is, yeah.
I just want to tell a funny story that make the idea... There is... See, as always with so much of what I do... It sounds really daft, and then what I'm trying to do is something serious, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And the serious thing is, we create these icons, and then we expect them to be a certain way, you know. And actually, people aren't. Nobody's like that. Everyone's massively complicated and massively. If we, you know, we paint. Any famous person gets painted into it. One of the things about the a.a.milne thing was reclaiming the memory of a.a.milne and Christopher Robin. The myth goes, and it's kind of true, that when Christopher Robin grew up, he hated the fact that he was Christopher Robin. And he didn't like it that people would go up to him and say, "You're Christopher Robin." People make that as if it was he hated his dad. So I hear all the time, "Oh yeah, but a.a.milne just exploited his son for his poetry, and Christopher Robin grew up and hated his dad."
No, I just thought it was a different
I hear that.
thing.
It's a totally different thing. It's about, and we can see this reflected backwards through time because we see celebrity now. Back then, the idea of being really well known for something that you didn't have any control over must have been so unusual and so. So of course, Christopher Robin was incredibly uncomfortable with his life being owned by what he was when he was 6 years old or whatever. Meanwhile, what people forget about a.a.milne, people say he was distant and didn't care for his son, is that he fought in the trenches in the First World War. He was at the Somme. a.a.milne fought in the Somme, came home, and then wrote Winnie the Pooh and all those poems. So of course he's like a quiet, distant, reserved man, because he saw
Yes.
stuff that none of us since have
Yeah.
ever seen anything like
No.
that. You know, nothing touches a song. You know, and it's absolutely ridiculous that people would go, oh well. I mean, even when I got the free Fringe opportunity to be on the Fringe, the guy that gave me the slot said, oh yeah, I won't be coming, I don't like a.a.milne because he exploited his family for his poems. And I think, no, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
He's trying to connect with...
Yeah.
He's a lonely man.
Yeah.
He's got a
He
lonely
must have
only
been
son
completely
brought up by
fucked up.
nannies,
Oh my
and he's
God.
he's got this kind of residual he's a survivor.
Yeah, he's got
You know,
all
we look
post-traumatic
at
stress
military
disorder.
now with
Yeah,
PTSD.
yeah,
I mean, I know a bit about that, and
yeah.
it's a horrific
It is awful.
diagnosed
Yes,
condition.
I agree. Yeah.
So that was a really, and so now suddenly we're having a really serious conversation about a.a.milne
Yeah.
that's in the show.
Yes.
That's actually in my show.
Yeah, right.
So even though it's a thing for children and it's
Yeah.
fun, by the end I can sing you an a.a.milne song about relating to, for example, there's a poem called Binker,
Yeah.
where he imagines he's singing, I've got an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, you know, Daddy's great,